Welcome back to the My Latin Life podcast. Since 2014, My Latin Life has been your trusted guide to traveling and living in Latin America. Our guest today is Quentin from Mi Primer Bitcoin. He's a French national now based in El Salvador, and we welcome Quentin to the podcast.
Hey Vince, thank you for having me. It's a real pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. The astute observers might recognize Quentin from the El Salvador Roundtable, which you participated in, and I think we had like 5 or 6 people on there. So I promised we'd get you on for a solo episode at some point. So I'm glad we finally made this happen. And you're still based in Berlin?
Correct. Yeah, I'm still living in Berlin, Usulután in El Salvador, which is
Berlin.
a Bitcoin circular economy. Yeah.
I mean, the place looks nice. I see you on video. It looks like pretty. It doesn't look super Latino. Your house. It almost looks
Yeah.
first
I
world.
found a very good house. Not many of them here, and it took me a while, but it's fully furnished now. So yeah, it looks cool. I feel at home.
Okay, and you got to give us the juicy detail. How much are you paying to rent a house in Berlin, El Salvador?
So I really found something like I made a good deal with the landlord, and I'm paying $400, and it's a huge house. It has 2 levels, 4 bedrooms, 2
Oh my
living
god!
rooms, 1 terrace, 1 balcony, a garden, etc., for $400. So yeah,
Oh my
it's
god,
quite nice. Yeah.
dude, that's so legit.
It is. The trade off is you live in a mountain town of El Salvador.
And give us a little bit of the story about how you ended up there. So you're from France. There they pronounce it Quentin.
Correct. Yeah, yeah,
Quentin.
exactly.
Which is also how you say content, like happy, right?
Yeah,
Now that I think
yeah.
about it, I
That
just
used to
put
be a
two and two
joke when
together.
yeah. Well, it's not exactly the same pronunciation, but I remember going in Morocco, for example, and they used uh, to make jokes about that.
Like,
Content, tu es content. Yeah,
yeah.
you're happy, Quentin. Yeah, that kind
Wait,
of stuff.
say it like je m'appelle Quentin, je suis content.
Aha. Je m'appelle Quentin. Je suis content. It's
Quentin,
slightly
content.
different,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I agree. It's very similar.
Okay, okay. No, I can hear it. I got the French ear. In Quebec, it'd be like Quentin or Quentin.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mon gars, Quentin. Something like that. Okay.
So you
We'll move
speak
on.
French?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. Pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah, I lived in Montreal for a couple of years and stuff. So still,
Okay.
I don't speak it much anymore. So like I would make a lot of like conjugating errors and stuff, but like I can understand it really really well.
Okay.
Um,
Cool.
but yeah, man. So hit me with the story about kind of how you got to where you are.
Well, it started in 2022. I mean, I don't know if it started in 2022, but let's say my travel started in 2022. I kind of escaped France because of the vaccine mandates and all that bullshit. So I decided to just leave and go travel to Mexico for 6 months. And the TLDR is I never came back, so I continued traveling.
Good, good.
And yeah, I met a girl in Mexico. We traveled together. We went to Guatemala and then El Salvador. And I was into Bitcoin, so arriving in El Salvador, I thought, okay, I need to see what the option looks like here now that it's legal tender, blah blah blah. And yeah, I continued traveling for a few months, doing some back and forth in Mexico and El Salvador. And at some point, a guy called John, who is the founder of Mi Primer Bitcoin, my first Bitcoin, um, offered me the opportunity to go work for 6 months on an island and do Bitcoin education and social projects, kind of a missionary kind of thing. And I accepted. So we went there for 6 months. It was really, really really fucking hard. It was, sorry, I don't know if I can swear on your podcast, but
That's fine.
okay, it was really really hard, and but very good experience. We did a ton of good stuff. We did Bitcoin education. We did social projects. Everything paid in Bitcoin, so we had to kind of build the infrastructure for all of that. And after the 6 months, I moved here in Berlin, which is a Bitcoin circular economy. And I continued working with my first Bitcoin, and I'm now in charge of all operations. I work remotely from my home, living a chill life in the mountains of El Salvador. Basically, that's the story.
And where is Me Premier Bitcoin at? Because I've checked in a couple times, probably like every 6 months, but I'm sure it's been like growing and expanding and getting into different schools. And there was a bit of an expansion effort in Mexico as well. What's kind of the current status as of February 2025?
So that's a great question. We've grown really, really fast. And so we had to kind of grow the team, improve the processes, blah, blah, in the background. But what I can say is we are teaching even more students here in El Salvador, but we're also, in 2024, we've basically created the foundation on which we'll be able to scale worldwide via our online school. So basically, we'll have
Hmm.
all of our programs available online, and people from all around the world will be able to learn about Bitcoin in a independent and impartial way, so that like there are no interests that get in the way of educating people, because you have stuff like Binance Academy, or like these big exchanges providing education,
Hmm.
um, but they're not about empowering people. They're about um, convincing them to go on their platforms and buying shit coins and speculating their money. It's not about um, what is money or how to empower yourself and achieve sovereignty, right? So that's what we do, and we're scaling online, and we're basically scaling vertically with that online school, and we're also scaling horizontally with this initiative that we call the Node Network, which is basically an initiative. We try to rally Bitcoin education projects all around the world around independent, impartial, open source, community led Bitcoin education. And as of right now, the network is um, composed of probably 65 nodes in more than 35 countries, which is kind of huge. And that's how we'll have Bitcoin adoption worldwide, in my opinion.
And tell me more about what a node means in this context.
Sure. So basically, a node is a Bitcoin education project. We reuse the semantics of Bitcoin, but it's just a node in a network is just um, an individual, an entity that is connected to all of the others. It's how decentralized networks work. And so in our case, it's just a Bitcoin education project that joins the network, the community, and
Mhm.
that benefits from all the resources that we share within the community, and also provides resources, contacts, information, tips, and everything, so that we can all grow together.
Got it. And what's kind of the business model? Because obviously all these things cost money.
Yeah. So no business model really, because we're an NGO. So we
Okay. Well, NGO is still a business model, as we've learned in the
yeah, I
past
guess
couple of weeks.
so.
Uh,
Yeah.
never mind.
Yeah, we receive donations. We're supported by the Human Rights Foundation, OpenSats, um, Paystand, Bitcoin Beach, and we're looking for more donations, and also anonymous donations as well. And that's how we fund everything that we do.
Wow. So pure. So you don't charge people, like you don't charge like the schools or anything to implement the curriculum. You provide the education for free.
Correct. In the future, yeah, for now everything is free. And it will remain free, and free not only as not costing anything, but also free as in freedom, like free and open source, so that you can download the contents of all of our programs and more,
Hmm.
and you can reuse that and modify it for your own purposes. Um, in the future, we'll have a kind of two-tiered model where you can have the online course for free, and you can also have an online course with a certificate that this will be paid, just like many universities do around the world.
Certificate. Okay. And then kind of like not Udemy, but like Coursera, where it's like pay 90, you can take the course for free, but you pay 99
Yeah,
bucks if you want the certificate for your LinkedIn or something. Yeah.
exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
Cool. And are the students more adults or more kids? Because you do a thing too where you go into schools and like teach kids about Bitcoin, but I imagine adults as well. What's kind of like the breakdown?
That's a good question. So here in El Salvador, we mostly teach students. So we go into the schools, we talk with the directors, and we ask them like, "Do you have a slot for us to teach your students about Bitcoin for 90 minutes?" So that's the bulk of it. We also have classes at the MPB house. We have classes in restaurants, in cafes, at meetups, and there the demographic is a bit different. It's a bit more adult. And we'll see how it goes with the online school. It's still something that we will see how it goes, but I think that with the online school, we'll be reaching a different demographic as well, maybe a bit older, like young adults, maybe.
Mhm.
But yeah, for now, within El Salvador, it's basically most students are yeah, kids from the public school system.
And what are some of the unique challenges associated with teaching kids about it? Do you think they get it? Do you think they catch on faster or slower?
Well, so one of the challenges I would say is maybe their interest, because I mean, I remember when I was a kid, you would have taught me about Bitcoin, and I would have been probably not interested. Um, so yeah, that's probably the main challenge, and this is why we have really good teachers that create engagement and make sure that the students are interested and are willing to learn more about it. Um, but I guess that's part of the game, right? Like you teach as much as you can, and the ones that are really interested will come back for more.
This episode of the My Latin Life podcast is brought to you in part by Job Stacking. If you're a remote or hybrid worker looking to maximize your earning potential, then Rolf Haltza, author of Job Stacking, guarantees you'll be able to double your income by implementing his paycheck multiplication layering method. This is the exact system Rolf has used to take his own income and those of many others beyond $20K a month. With this method, Rolf contractually guarantees that you'll be able to double your income in 45 days. So, if you're interested in unleashing your earning potential and doubling your income, then click the link in the description and book a call with Rolf right now. Definitely. And is part of it like teaching kids the flaws of the fiat system, or you just don't even go there and more just like make it fun?
What do you mean? Like, do we teach them about the flaws of the fiat system?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, in the intro course, so the intro course is a 60-minute class. Let's say you have 30 minutes of theory about money, why it's broken, why Bitcoin matters, and then you have 30 minutes of onboarding. So already with the intro course, you have the problems of the fiat system that are kind of laid out. And then with the Bitcoin Diploma, which is our flagship program, um, there you have a full explanation of what money is, why it's broken, what are the consequences, and where Bitcoin comes in. Because I think the problem is with many people, they just arrive with Bitcoin as the great solution to everything. And it's like, if you don't understand the problem in the first place, well, Bitcoin will not make sense to you. So
I
for us,
wonder.
it's
I
Mhm.
wonder because it's not like we when people get a bank account or they teach people about personal finance today, they don't start with like why gold standards didn't work and why the old thing isn't there. You know what I mean? It's almost like with kids. I'm just thinking out loud here, but because they a lot of them won't even have bank accounts yet, so it's almost like they could
True.
just skip the whole bank account stage, go straight to having a crypto wallet, and you don't even have to like mention that there's this other system. I mean, obviously they'll learn that there is, their parents have bank accounts and so forth. But it's funny. It's like when you get to kids, it's like they could have a crypto wallet before they even have a bank account.
True. Yeah. The thing is, they will still use the dollar, even though, I mean, or whatever fiat currency they have. So I agree with you. And this is kind of what we do with the intro course. But at the same time, the question is, why should I use Bitcoin as money or as a store of value in the first place when I already have money? So you still have to explain like why your money is less interesting than Bitcoin in the long term. Now you don't have to go like all the way back to we used to use shells and blah blah blah. Like that's not what I'm saying, but but still, like you need to do a comparison and analyze why Bitcoin is better than fiat. And just as a side note, like we only teach about Bitcoin. We believe that Bitcoin is the only cryptocurrency that makes sense. So yeah, we basically teach about Bitcoin only.
Yeah, and when you try to say like, oh, it's faster, like you get your money faster, or things like that, like how do you teach it in a way or present it in a way that it appeals to kids and their unique desires and their attention spans?
Well, we try to focus on sovereignty. So we try to empower people, and Bitcoin is just a mean to that. So we really try to talk about sovereignty and how money can make you free. Not only having money, but also having the right money. So I guess that's really the angle that we take to approach people. It's how do you get more free in your life? How do you get more agency in your life? How do you become more sovereign? Um, yeah, so that's what we use, and some of the kids will not be receptive to that, um, but some of them will be, and that's really really important that we focus on those ones.
Because I almost feel like freedom is a hard concept to grasp for the kids in a way, right? Because they probably
It
already
is.
feel free. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe even more so than adults. Um, but it's still something that you need to, I mean, especially to kids of the public school system, right? Like you need to show them something a bit different than what they're used to learning at school. So talking about freedom and sovereignty is it can open the kids' minds, and I think that's really important.
Yeah, like I always remember when I was growing up, maybe it was a bit different in France, but you have the movies had like rating systems, right? So you had like G, PG, PG-13, rated R, right? And it was always like a game, like it was like, oh man, you just turned 13, you can go see the PG-13 movie. And then it was like on the commercials, it'd be like, okay, so the new whatever Mission Impossible's coming out. Is it going to be PG-13? Is it going to be R? If it's PG-13, we can get in. If it's
Yeah.
R, it's going to be an issue trying to get into the movie. And so I wonder if like it, and it'd be like, it's like if you have Bitcoin, like you could watch the PG-13 movie or something like that. I don't know. So you got to find like a carrot you can dangle for them.
Yeah, I'm sure we have great analogies that we use with the kids. Unfortunately, I'm not a teacher, so I
Yeah,
can't really
that's fair.
share them. But I know that our teachers, and specifically here in El Salvador, I mean, it wouldn't make sense for me to give the classes, right? Like we need local teachers to give
Right.
classes to locals, right? Otherwise, I can share stories about friends, but they'll be like, whatever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that makes sense. But just like finding things that are like important to them, and then being like, hey, if you had Bitcoin, it would actually like unlock this thing. You know what I mean? Something like that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Or because I get they can't even really get bank accounts. Like, can you get a bank account when you're 12 or something in El Salvador? Probably not. But it's like, hey, dude, you can
No.
download this wallet right now on your phone and like start like making money for your family or like,
Oh
you
yeah,
know,
definitely. I mean, that's definitely part of the toolkit that the teachers use. It's part of the freedom thing. It's you can get a bank account without a bank. Like you can be your own bank in your pocket for yourself and for your family. Because most Salvadorans, I don't have the statistic right now, but I think that most Salvadorans don't have a bank account, if I'm not mistaken. So
mhm.
it will make sense. Like having Bitcoin will make sense to a lot of people, not only here but all around the world. So it's just about taking the time to educate them about the benefits of having Bitcoin and using it as well.
Did you ever imagine that you were gonna be running this like school essentially, this educational institution?
Oh, never. Um, no, never. It's and I'm very grateful for that. I yeah, the last 3 years were kind of crazy, and and yeah, when I think about it, like 3 years ago I was in France, about to leave. Exactly 3 years ago I was about to leave. I had my plane tickets, sold my car, and I was just like, where, like, what am I getting myself into? Like, I knew I was just traveling, but at the same time I knew deep down, I think I knew there was no coming back. It was just like, let's go exploring this new life.
Hmm.
And today I work in Bitcoin. I work remotely. I live in a Bitcoin circular economy. I get paid in Bitcoin. I spend in Bitcoin. Um, I can travel around. In a couple of weeks, I'll be in Colombia. It's just life's good. Life is really, really good on this side of the planet.
This episode of the My Latin Life podcast is brought to you in part by Crema Social. Crema Social is like TikTok for international dating. It's an app you can download right now on your phone, and 3 out of 4 people on Crema are single women. The app was founded in Colombia, so unsurprisingly, there are a lot of Latinas on the app, by the way. So, how does it work? Crema Social is a social meal experience where you invite a hot girl for a lunch date via video call and food delivery. New concept, so you'll have to try it out for yourself, but this is probably the best way to meet Latinas before you visit the country. So if you're in Latin America or planning to visit Latin America, download Crema Social now and start getting dates right away. There will be a link in the description to download, or just search Crema Social on your favorite app store. Have fun, guys. Switching away from just talking about me Premier Bitcoin, and talking a bit more about like your journey and the journey from the person you were to, this LATAM enthusiast based in Colombia. I'm sure, there were a lot of limiting beliefs that were broken along the way. Um, Salaries are so low in France, for one thing. um,
That's true.
what um, what have been some of your big epiphanies along the way?
Um, the world is big, and at the same time, it's so small. Like you can go anywhere. You can if you set your mind right and you prepare yourself right, you can do a lot of stuff. And for me, it was leaving France, even though I had nothing at the time in terms of and because I had nothing, I could leave as well. But like you can always prepare yourself to go anywhere if you want to. The question is, do you want to? Right now, I'm facing a different kind of uh, blocking element, which is I have a dog now, and so I wanna go travel, but I have this dog, and I'm like, I don't want to leave my dog for 3 weeks here. So it's a new limiting factor, but I'm working on this. But yeah, so I think I think what happened to me during these 3 years is I realized, like, if as long as you keep a little bit of faith in yourself, nothing is over, and you can, even if you feel like you're taking 10 steps um, backwards, you're still making progress as long as the outcome arrives in the end. It's a bit stupid
Mhm.
to say like this, but it's really important, um, to just keep a little bit of faith. I think that's I think my takeaway from these past 3 years.
Were you ever at a point where you felt like things were over?
Oh, in France, yeah, I was in a really dark place before traveling. The COVID stuff was really difficult for me. Just seeing friends and family being okay with everything that happened, and even like justifying what was happening, it made me feel very lonely. And then I left and I went to Mexico, and I realized it was not all in my head, but it's my projection of what I'm receiving onto the world, and then uh, it's a self fulfilling prophecy. You feel bad, so you project that feeling onto people, so they uh, act in a certain way with you, so you get isolated, etc., etc. And you just have to break the circle and leave at some point.
Hmm.
um which I did, and it did wonders for me. So yeah, I highly encourage people to do that, even for a few weeks or a few months. In my case, I left for 6 months with a 5 kilo backpack, so it was a bit uh, radical, but I think it's worth it. It's really worth it to leave and go travel.
Yeah, I think everybody has to do it at least once.
Yeah, definitely.
I think the big thing though is what you did, which is basically stick it out though and find a way to make money online because it's very easy. In Europe, it's always been a thing, Erasmus or go do 3 to 6 months traveling or go to Thailand or do like the big European tour and come back, basically broke and then like, kind of try to figure out adulthood. Um, but there's a whole nother way to do it, which is use that time, have some fun, have some fun, but also use that time productively to figure out a way to make money online or even local opportunities. What you're doing now isn't is like sort of online, but it's also in person as well, just in a new location, and just find a
Mhm.
way to make things a bit more permanent so you have options. So you're not, it's not just like your only option is to, go home and get a job.
Definitely. I completely agree with you. For me, it was a bit difficult because I was looking for jobs for a long time online, did a ton of interviews, and it just wasn't working out. And and at some point, it just basically fell on me. I just received this opportunity. I took it, and it worked out. Um, but yeah, in terms of online business, I'm working on this. I've tried before. I'm trying again, but I wouldn't say I'm the best example of success in terms of online business. Now, in terms of remote job, yeah, but still working on the business side of the equation, I guess.
Hmm. Yeah, have multiple income streams, this kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah,
Good. Yeah, I think
that's a goal for
it's just
2025.
changing your environment is huge. It can obviously be done within the same country, but there's also just I think, something happens to your brain when you go to a place that speaks a different language, or it's a different sort of climate. Obviously, coming somewhere tropical in our case, I think it just makes the brain do a bigger shift. I mean, it could, for some people, it could be as simple as going from Paris to Marseille or the south of France or something. But sometimes you need like even more drastic
Yeah.
of a shift to get out of a dark place, or just to start thinking differently, or just to sort of recollect yourself.
I completely agree. And where was the what country did you go to first when you left? Did you leave Canada?
um yeah, for me it was like Canada to the US to Mexico.
Hmm. Okay, so yeah, do you remember that feeling of just walking around and having all your senses being bombarded with new information and the smells and the sights and hearing stuff, new languages? It's just it's crazy. It feels like 2 weeks before you were using like 5% of your brain, like walking the same path every day, not seeing anything different. And 2 weeks later, you're like, wow, this is crazy. And the feeling is just, it's overwhelming. But if you do it right, it's just amazing. And you can keep yourself in that state for months, and it's beautiful. It's draining as well. At some point you need to settle down, and I've never done the digital nomad thing, and that's not something I'm really interested in.
Mhm.
um but yeah, I find this amazing, and I'm really really excited. Like, as I said, in 2 3 weeks I'm going to Colombia, and I can't wait to feel that experience again. Just being there, eating new stuff, seeing new things, hearing new accents. It will be wonderful.
So where's your Spanish at so far? I have a feeling because you're European, you're like pretty good in Spanish by now.
Yeah, Yeah, I'm. I wouldn't say native, but my Spanish is really good. It's probably better than my English.
Really? Wow. Okay. I mean, your English is quite good, so
Yeah,
that's saying something.
yeah. I'm trilingual. Thank you.
So no problem blending in.
Oh no,
You also
yeah,
got a
it will
bit
be
of a
fine.
Latino look for sure. Like, dude, people are gonna think you're Colombian.
It's funny. When I was in France, people thought I was from Morocco or Algeria. When I was in Mexico, people thought I was from Argentina. And well, here in El Salvador, people think I'm from the US, and we'll see in Colombia what they think about it.
Because your last name is very like Germanish. to me.
It's German. It's 100% German. It means man of honor.
How do they pronounce it in French?
Um, in French, I would say Ehrenmann.
Ehrenmann.
In German, I have no clue. I have no idea.
So what's your background? Do you have like a bit of like Algerian or something?
Uh, I know that on my mother's side, I have like Italian roots. So maybe at some point, and then Corsican roots as well. And
Hmm.
on my father's side, it's yeah, Germany. I think we left. I mean, we some ancestors left Germany in like 17 something. But I'm not
Okay.
very familiar with my family's history. Let's say
Okay. So you think it's like Italian Corsican where you get the dark features from?
probably yeah, and also the sun. I
Okay.
mean, I just spend a good amount of time in the sun, um, working on that tan.
I'm trying to go to Corsica. I want to check it out. I really want to go to La Corse.
Oh yeah, it's oh man, it's beautiful. Corsica is just incredible.
It's on the list. Is this going to be your first time in Colombia? You've been before? I feel like you've been before.
No, it will be the first time. I'm very excited
Ooh,
about it.
be careful. Be
I
careful. It's
know.
you're going from the safest country in Latin America to top three most dangerous.
Yeah.
So you gotta be more
Have you been
careful.
to Medellin?
Yeah, yeah, of course. You'll be fine as long as you do not use dating apps. Probably
Okay.
do not use the dating
Yeah, I
apps
won't.
under any
I'm
circumstances. You're
yeah.
gonna. It's like it's insane. It's basically just it's basically like just for crime at this point.
Okay,
Like
okay. I
like
won't
there's
use dating
no
apps
like
then.
there's no like normal girls on the dating apps in Medellin. It's like all just like baiting people to
Wow.
rob them. It's insane. I have a contractor,
Okay.
a buddy of mine. So him and his a buddy of mine, him and his roommate just got to Medellin like a week ago. The roommate went on a date, and then the whole apartment got robbed. And so it wasn't even my buddy that went on the date; it was the roommate. But you know, the roommate that let the girls in, whatever,
Wow.
and he got his laptop stolen and everything.
Okay. Well, I'll do my best to not fall into the trap. We'll
Just trying to
see.
warn you.
Uh yeah, thank you. What do you recommend I do in Medellin?
In Medellin, in the city, there's the Botero Museum, which is actually pretty cool in downtown Medellin. One really cool museum there. There's a lot of good hiking, like hikes with like waterfalls and stuff. And some of these hikes are pretty close to the city, where you can just take an Uber to the base of the hike and do the hike. So there's a lot of good
Oh, okay.
hiking with like good views. A lot of good networking, obviously, lots of digital nomads. If you're not in our Columbia Telegram group, you could join there and then say, hey, who's in Medellin? Who wants to meet up? That kind of thing. We got like 800
Yeah, that'd
people
be
in
cool.
there. And for the audience, there's a link in the description for our Telegram groups, the description of the podcast. And it's free. Anyone can join our Telegram groups, and people kind of self organize and stuff in there. What else? I mean, there's
Sounds
a
good.
castle. You can visit the castle. Try to think what else. Go to a reggaeton concert.
Yeah, I definitely plan on going to um, places where I can listen to and dance to reggaeton. That's probably the the dangerous part, I guess. the
Yeah,
nightlife.
you just got to watch your drink. In a funny way, it's actually almost more dangerous to go on a one-on-one date than to go to like a crowded venue in Colombia, which is kind of
Wow.
counterintuitive. But you do got to watch your drink. But yeah, there's this place. There's a really famous one in the Poblado area called, I think it's called Pata Negra, that you could like make a note of, and a lot of like upcoming acts and shows and stuff are played there.
Okay, thanks. I'll research that. Yeah, I know. I've been so the security stuff. I It kind of scared me for a bit because here in El Salvador, basically my front door is always unlocked, like day and night. There is no crime.
Hmm.
There is no risk of anything, and especially here in this mountain town. So when I've heard about all these things happening in Colombia, I thought, maybe not. But then, I mean, when I was in Mexico, I was hearing stuff about El Salvador. When I'm in El Salvador, I hear stuff about like people here in El Salvador told me when I went to Honduras, they told me, "Oh no, you shouldn't go to Honduras. It's filled with crime.
Uh-huh.
You'll get robbed. You'll get murdered. Like, you'll die." And it's funny. I mean, it's not funny, but it kind of is because it was the country with the highest murder rate, uh, and now people from this country are saying, "Oh, you shouldn't go to this country because it's not safe," right? So, I mean, I'm sure Colombia is not that safe, but if I navigate it, uh, like
Yeah, if
if
you
I'm
navigate, you'll
not
be
being
good. I
dumb,
mean,
yeah.
so you went to Honduras? Did you go to Prospera?
No, I didn't. I basically went for a weekend. I went for a Tinder date, which was kind of dumb, talking about security. Um, but
You went to
yeah, it worked
Honduras
out.
for a Tinder date?
Yes, correct.
Because I guess how far is the border from Berlin? Anyway, I don't want to get you in trouble on this podcast.
No, that's fine. I don't know, a day of traveling, maybe like a couple of buses. One to go to
A
San
couple of
Miguel to
buses,
take the bus to Tegucigalpa. Yeah,
because you don't have a car down there yet in El Salvador.
I do. I have the residency now.
You do? Okay. So you got the residency card, and do you have a vehicle?
No, I don't, and
You
I'm
don't.
not planning
Okay.
to get one.
So you find that even in a small mountain town in El Salvador of 5,000, 10,000 people, you don't need a car. There's enough colectivos and buses and stuff like that that you can get to San Salvador successfully and Bitcoin Beach and everything else you need to do.
Yeah, you can I mean, the bus network is not amazing. It's not like Mexico, for example, far from it. But it's cheap and it gets you where you want to go. So from here in Berlin, I can go to San Salvador in like 2.5 hours for $3. And then from there I can take another bus and go to Bitcoin Beach. Or I can even take an Uber to go to Bitcoin Beach because it's basically an hour. So the Uber would cost me $30. If I decide to go with the Uber bike, which is
Hmm.
interesting, it would cost me like $12, $14. So doable as well. And apart from San Salvador and Bitcoin Beach, I don't. There are not many cities to visit. San Miguel is mostly for groceries if you need to. But apart from that, yeah, it's not. It's basically it. So
And
no
have
need
you
for a
had the
car for now.
chance to connect with Murph's life up? I know he's kind of on the other side of El Salvador, but have you heard about Murph's life and what they're
I
doing?
uh,
They're calling it
I
Bitcoin
haven't
Mountain.
yet,
Have you heard about his
not
project?
personally, but I've read about him. I see him online. I see the stuff that he does, very interesting. But no, I haven't had the chance to connect with him directly. I may have lost you there.
Yeah, it's a bit choppy, the connection. But I was saying, like, so I think there's actually a lot of overlap because they're involved in using social media, raising funds, and then ultimately benefiting the people of El Salvador and Latin America with the donations through sort of managing programs. He's also getting a lot more into Bitcoin and in crypto. And he's kind of, now that he's in El Salvador, he's increasingly sort of adopting that and being very outward about his support for Bitcoin. So I definitely think that you guys could connect, and there could be some opportunities for working on projects together. Awesome, Quentin. Well, I know we both have a hard stop, so why don't you give us the last word, where they can find you and all that good stuff.
Yeah, if you want to find me, I'm on Twitter at Quentin underscore EHR. You can find Mi Primer Bitcoin on our website, myfirstbitcoin.io. And if you're looking to visit El Salvador, just reach out and we'll make it work.
Awesome. Well, this has been another episode of the My Latin Life podcast. Again, our guest today, Quentin from Mi Primer Bitcoin, My First Bitcoin, live from Berlin, El Salvador. And to the audience, please subscribe to the podcast. Please follow on X, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the major podcast platforms. We're everywhere. Leave a review, leave a comment, and really helps us grow the show. We put out 2 episodes a week with amazing guests like Quentin, and you won't want to miss an episode. Ciao for now.